If I could just make a suggestion, and that is that in church education, we work very hard not to teach people that this is formulaic. Do these three things. There are principles related to the receiving of revelation. For example, probably everyone in this setting and everyone listening has read President Packer's talk about the snow white birds. There's a very important teaching about revelation in his introductory comments. I can't quote it, but he said, as I was preparing for this message, to deliver this message, I had to do my preparation in very small snippets of time between other obligations. And he said, one of the steps of my preparation was to come to this campus and walk around. And I went into the Mazer building at BYU and stood there because that was the venue where he was going to deliver the message. And he said, Harold B. Lee taught me that revelation is more readily recognized when you're in the place related to the need for the revelation. And then all he said was, President Lee was right.
A little clarification, maybe I misunderstood. The idea of receiving revelation, we don't want to have a prescriptive list, more principle-based, correct? But yet in the scriptures we see Joseph F. Smith, we see Joseph Smith, we see Nephi. Read the scriptures, listen to the words of a prophet, read the scriptures, and receive revelation. So are those principles, or is that a pattern?
I think you feast upon the Word of God so you can hear the Lord's voice.
So principle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, it's when we turn that into do these three things and this is what's going to happen. We have to wait upon the Lord. He delivers it. We don't demand it. And so we have to be aware of and responsive to His timing, not our demands about timing. What we always want to do in the Western world is, here's the formula for asking the right question. If you love the kids and you look at them and you listen to them, the questions are really very simple. So given what you just heard, what are you learning? And each one of those observations then allows you to that was talked about over here. You got to know where they're at. You're learning a little more about where they're at. You're better able to aim it appropriately in what you ask and in what you say.
So as we've been talking about how we often fall into the trap of trying to follow a formula or follow a specific process, I've been thinking about why is that the case and why does that happen so often? I think all of us could relate to that. And I think it's because, or at least one reason, is because we lack confidence in ourselves to be able to do it on our own. So we want to rely on a process that somebody else has come up with that has worked for them. And so I guess the question is, how do we increase our confidence in being able to receive revelation on our own and not try to rely on a process we've heard from someone else?
Now, you know my first question, don't you? What do you think?
I guess, you know, any way I've increased my confidence is by experience. But I feel like it's a little bit difficult in this situation because if you don't have those experiences often, you know, you don't get a chance to build up that confidence.
Okay. Let me read a quote. This is Joseph F. Smith. This is a credible source for someone who is beginning this journey. Says, how do I get confidence in this? President of the church. Show me Latter-day Saints who have to feed upon miracles, signs, and visions in order to keep them steadfast in the church. And I will show you members who are not in good standing before God and who are walking in slippery paths. It is not by marvelous manifestations unto us that we shall be established in the truth, but it is by humility and faithful obedience to the commandments and laws of God. Anybody can do that. I think that builds a little bit of at least hope. If a president of the church is talking about seemingly simple and ordinary things, I can do that. Anybody can do that. And we have a particular responsibility in this day. There's not a gracious way to say this. When I was the president of BYU Idaho, every Tuesday we had a devotional. And every single devotional speaker began his or her message with, "You're the finest generation. You have been saved for this day." I've had that up to here. I'm just tired of hearing it. That's right. In Arkansas, where I lived for a long time, there's a saying, when you pick up a stick, you get both ends. If they've been saved for this day, it's because they have a lot to do. And we have a role in helping them to be ready for that. And we have a lot to do. And we need to be ready for that. This is the greatest season in the history of the restored church. The greatest opposition, the greatest opportunities.